In terms of a brand that's wanting to become a franchise, there's 10 essential questions to ask.
Well, what's the right answer?
As the potential franchisor, why do you want to franchise? Is it because you're trying to get to more locations? Okay, that makes sense, but why? Why can't you do it yourself? You don't want to feel like your franchisees, your first ones, are fixing your brand. They should be adding value to your brand, not trying to fix every issue or mistake.
Just have a Google Doc for every SOP, and then have a tracker that tells you.
Challenge everything. If you've been doing something for 15, 20 years, right? Does everybody else think it's still the best way?
I guess what you don't know, you don't know. That's where you come in and say, hey, you haven't thought about these, but these are the things that's gonna become a problem in 3 to 5 years.
There's 1,000 people reaching out to us to franchise, so it got our interest. And now we're thinking about strategically, how do we take all this demand and interest and actually scale our brand further?
The responsibility line is black and white. If there's a KB, then it's your problem. You failed to follow it. If there is not, it's our fault. We need to fix that.
That's step one.
Today we're going to talk about franchising again. It's a hot topic. Everyone's trying to find a way to grow, and franchising appears to be one of the, I'm not sure if it's easiest, but it's definitely a successful path that has been proven by many other models. We recently saw Dave's Hot Chicken sell for $1 billion, so I'm sure that's going to ignite a lot more attention in franchising. So today we're going to cover, if you are a restaurant, how do you franchise, what questions do you ask yourself, and how do you prepare to start franchising if that's what you want to do. We've got Kendall here today. He's been around franchising for a very long time. He knows what to do. He's the subject matter expert. We'll rely on his expertise to walk us through. So Kendall, let's get right into it. You got a call, you took a flight, you met with a brand, they're trying to franchise. What questions did they ask you? What did you tell them? Let's run through that.
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought up the Dave's deal, because since that has happened, a lot of brands have been talking about franchising or trying to rejuvenate their franchising efforts, really wanting to get to that same goal at some point, right? At the same time, there's been an uptick in franchise-related lawsuits. So either franchisees suing franchisor, or even in some cases, franchisor suing the franchisee. So you see
I saw an article about a big chain that we had talked to, and they got sued for some stuff. But and the Dave's thing makes sense. I mean, when it's $1 billion on the line, of course everybody wants to do it. So, and everybody is going to think it's easy, but I'm sure it's not. So
and talking with like franchise attorneys that I know, there's an uptick in FDD requests, to create FDDs for the first time for brands. And again, uptick in actual litigation between franchisor and franchisee. So both are rising, which is good and bad. So that's another topic for another day. In terms of a brand that's wanting to become a franchise, there's 10 essential questions to ask. The first one being is, why do you want to become a franchise? You're probably operating 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 or more units already. You're most likely successful, and you have great traction. So why now? Why do you want to become a franchise? What is it that's driving that decision and the overall goal?
Well, what's the right answer?
Right.
I mean, I'm assuming, like, if it was me, I would want a franchise because I want to have more locations so I can make more money. Or the other way around. I want to make more money, so I want a franchise.
Right. And it's good to get to the clear point behind that, because some people might want to do it for ego purposes. Or some people literally become a franchise because in a certain market, one person asked, hey, would you ever franchise in this area? And then they go on the rabbit hunt to figure out how to become a franchise.
I got you. But so they find a key and they go build a house around it.
Exactly. Instead, as the potential franchisor, why do you want to franchise? Is it because you're trying to get to more locations? Okay, that makes sense, but why? Why can't you do it yourself? But these private equity groups might say, hey, there's no more capital to actually invest in growth. And so you need to figure out another way to scale. And so it could be driven off of certain EBITDA goals, top line sales goals. I don't know what the goal is, but as the potential franchisor, you have to determine your why behind that. Because if you don't have that clear why, it's going to be a lot harder to sell that vision to franchise prospects and to maintain operations as a franchisor.
Oh, I see. So you're saying an external vision or external mission. Like, of course you want to make money, but you can't tell the franchisor, I guess, or the franchisee that's coming to franchise the brand. They need to know there's a bigger concept behind the brand, not just,
Right.
oh, we just want to make as much money as possible.
Right.
So internally, that may be okay, but externally, you have to have some sort of a vision for the future that you can turn and sell that to the potential franchisee.
Right, right. And the best option is if there's already people, let's say there's a high demand of interest. So I know some brands that might tease a franchise inquiry on their website. Mm-hmm. Some brands might just have an influx of requests or emails saying, hey, I really want to franchise. That is also a good start to the why. Hey, we never thought about franchising before, but there's 1,000 people reaching out to us to franchise, so it got our interest. And now we're thinking about strategically, how do we take all this demand and interest and actually scale our brand further?
Gotcha.
So there's got to be something that's feeding into that why that isn't just the obvious one, right? That's step one. Right, that's the first question to ask. Get very clear on that and make sure that your private equity group or your sponsor or whoever is your backer
investors,
is on the exact same page as you. One of the worst things that I've had to experience in my career, and more than once, is being stuck in the middle between what private equity wants versus what a brand actually needs.
Got you.
And that's a tough spot to be in. And so if right now things are very smooth and cordial as a restaurant operator, and if you go down this new journey, it's a new business model, it's a whole separate business from your current, and your private equity group or investors are not aligned with how it's going to be, you're going to be stuck in the middle as well, and it's going to be a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah. Okay, so number one, find your why. What's the second thing? Where do we go next?
So the second question is, do you have a proven business model? And this one is probably the most obvious one, and a lot of people talk about it, but what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to ask. Proven business model. That is such a tough question to answer. So what does that mean? What's not and what is?
Right. So one, a brand that is franchising that doesn't have their own location, that should be off the list, period, right? That
I would have thought that's common sense. Like if you don't have your own location, you've never proven anything. Right. What is there for me to franchise?
And you'd be surprised how many brands have pulled that off, not successfully, but how many brands have started that and got franchisees to buy into it for however they did it. And the cases that I'm familiar with that have led to lawsuits are the former franchisors of one brand where things went south, something happened, so they pivoted, basically rebranded, came up with a new concept and started franchising right away.
I got you. Like the McDonald's thing in Russia.
Sure.
They took the McDonald's and they called it whatever.
Right. It happened in a similar case like with I Heart Mac and Cheese. They went through a bunch of lawsuits, a bunch of issues with franchisees. That same leadership team and leader in general basically started a whole new concept, different vertical, and started franchising. And it's just, you got to be careful, right, getting into those franchises. But in terms of the franchisor side of this, is your model proven? Meaning, do you have some sort of track record of financial success that you can speak to? Now, I have out of the box, guardrails, if you will, right? At least have 3 to 5 locations operating for at least 3 years. That's a pretty good starting point. If they're financially successful and they're scaling and every single year you're seeing growth on your top line and your bottom line, it's probably safe to say after 3 years, you're doing pretty good. Not to say you can't franchise with only one location or that you need to wait until 3 years exactly. It's a matter of let that be your baseline. But if you have early success and you have something that really is proven and there's a high demand of interest coming your way, as long as you be comfortable with your own family member, father, mother, whoever, sister, but if you're comfortable with a family member becoming a franchisee, then that means you yourself believe in your model and it's most likely proven.
Yeah, it has to be trustable. I agree. Like if it can't be operated by somebody you trust, or if you don't trust your own money to go into that brand, then yeah, I think at that stage it becomes a scam order.
And as a restaurant operator, are you going to invest in more locations? Are you still confident about it?
Yeah.
And if so, that's a good track record. And you're going to have other trust from franchisees seeing that you are scaling while they're scaling.
Show me, don't tell me. Yeah.
Right. So that's another one. Is it truly proven or not? And make sure you can find all the data and proof that it is. Yeah. And what story can you tell about your brand?
And I think now that I'm thinking about it, of course, 3 to 5 locations, 3 years of revenue, 3 years of history. Right. Revenues have to make sense, but I think now that I'm thinking, revenues have to make sense, not for your corporate side, but then you have to do the revenue minus the franchise fees,
Yes.
whatever, 6-8%. And does it make sense even after you shave off 6% on the top line revenue?
Right.
Does the franchisee make money? The way I guess the way I'm thinking of it is, if the franchisee is not going to make money, then you don't have a model.
Right.
Like
Right.
they have to make at least whatever percentage, like I
Right.
don't know, 10, 15, 20% a
Exactly.
year on net. Otherwise, they're not going to get in.
Right. Don't be the restaurant concept that is putting 10% to the bottom line, let's say, and then you go start franchising because you think that's good, not realizing you're going to be taking 10% off the top
Yeah.
in most cases, and so now you're at a loss, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big topic here is, and my advice to most corporate restaurants who are considering franchising, or maybe some who've already launched their FDD and they're technically a franchisable concept but haven't had any franchisees, is one, you had to set up a separate entity to start your franchising company, period, right? So start paying your own royalties and your own ad fund as a corporate operator.
Oh, it makes sense. Yeah,
Right?
that makes a lot of sense.
Have it clear, especially in the future, right? Or potential acquisitions or whatever comes your way. But from a franchise prospect standpoint, if I see that the franchisor is actually paying royalties into that same company, and most importantly, the ad fund, that's what really matters. If a corporate run operation is paying into the ad fund, that shows me that you care about the overall success of the brand.
Yeah,
Those
it's professionally
dollars.
set up. It's already up and running. It's like it's not brand new. And actually, that answers my question. Is like, hey, now that you're paying into that fund and the royalty stuff, is it still profitable? Does it still
That's
make
the
sense?
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can it actually still produce, let's say 10, 15% after royalties and ad fund and after whatever markup you have on your proprietary products? Does the model actually work for a franchisee? If it doesn't, then figure out how to raise capital to keep scaling as a corporate run business, and that's the path of growth.
So if I've got a 3,000 square foot restaurant, full service, making 800,000 in top line revenue, I don't know, clearing about 25 grand a year
Yeah.
in profits.
That's tough.
I'm the best franchising restaurant concept out there.
You'd be surprised, right?
Okay,
It's tough because the top line is one conversation. The percentage, obviously, percentages are percentages. They're not necessarily as valuable as a dollar. But if it's because finding anything over $800,000 off the bat is slim. It's hard to find brands that are consistent like that.
Yeah.
And some people are happy doing $500,000 top line in a certain style concept, taking home a few bucks a year.
Sure.
Because they have 20 of them or whatever that is. It all depends upon the model and the target. If you really want to have more sophisticated, well-backed franchisees or investors, you have to have a higher AUV and higher bottom line overall, contribution to that model. If it's on the lower scale, then you might attract the single unit franchisee who just wants to come in and replace their current
Lifestyle.
job. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways to go about it. But is your model proven? Can you, in your own words and your own brand, say that this model has been proven out and there is a demand, so now it's time to consider franchising?
Got you. Okay, so got that. What's the third point of view?
So then jumping into the third question to ask if you want to become a franchisor is your brand actually protected, and is there something that makes it different?
What do you mean protected?
Do you even have your logo or brand name trademarked? Another surprising, thing that I've seen is a lot of brands, when it comes time to launching an FDD, they realize they haven't trademarked what makes them a brand. And so in some cases, very few, but this has happened, you get to that stage and you realize your name is actually already taken, or a variation of is already trademarked that you cannot touch. So now you have to recreate your entire name. And if you have those 3 to 5 units already operating, that really sucks. You got to go backwards before you can go franchise. Because obviously in the FDD you have to disclose all your trademarks and all your symbols and everything that makes you, special, and whatever your trade secrets are, your proprietary information, whatever the IP is that you have, right? It's important that you have that clearly documented and cleared before you start franchising.
I guess what you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
And that's where you come in, is
Sure.
to clear out and say, hey, you haven't thought about these, but these are the things that's gonna
Right.
become a problem in 3 to 5 years.
Right. Because you definitely don't want to go ahead and go down that process, and then you find out when you already have franchisees who've opened up that a certain issue is trademarked, or a certain logo can't be used anymore. Because now you're talking about other people's money. Hey, sorry, you got to take that sign down that you spent 20 grand on because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to just make sure before you allow other people in and you start playing with other people's money that you have checked all the boxes. So are you protected? And what makes you different? Meaning, what's that non-negotiable? What's that one thing that makes your brand so special? Some brands, it's a sauce. Some brands, it's a certain formula or an ingredient pack or a certain product in general. Whatever it is, identify that. And then have you already gone through the steps or know how and when you're able to make that a proprietary, safe product? So some brands don't want to start off day one giving you the full recipe to the pizza sauce. They want the pizza sauce to show up ready to use, and all that is, protected and hidden. And they have their logo on it. And so it becomes probably the number one item that is distributed amongst the franchise to the franchisees, right? But whatever that is, find out how to get it to that stage and working with your distributors, because a lot of them are going to say, hey, at certain points we can do this, but not right now. At certain unit counts and, but in general, make sure your brand's protected and make sure that you have something that is making you stand out in the market. Again, if you're a burger concept, what's so different and special about your burger?
Yeah.
We've all had one. We've all seen them. And there's probably 3 in our neighborhood, at least.
Yeah.
So what is it that's going to make you stand out?
Awesome. So what's the fourth thing?
All right, then the fourth question is, do you actually have scalable SOP and processes? Right? Do you actually think that somebody else can execute this brand in its current operations with what you have? Not to say you have to have the most well-documented ops manual and e-learning platform, because most brands at this scale, right, are not going to have that level of investment just yet. But in general, do you have them somewhere documented, even if it's in an old manual? But when you train somebody, can someone from the outside easily operate and execute whatever the goals and demand is of this restaurant company?
And I think that's a huge challenge for any company. Even for us, it was.
Sure.
In 2019, I was the guy that knew every single SOP and everything, but I was the only guy that knew every SOP and everything. So
Right.
It's very challenging. And even up to, we've done a lot, like starting in 2019, 2020, we started documenting and building a knowledge-based system internally with all of our SOPs documented. And today, actually, I ask myself, when somebody makes a mistake, the first question I ask is, do we have a KB on that? Mm-hmm. If we don't have a KB, it's our fault.
Right.
Because we failed to document on how to do it. So what do you expect from that person to do?
Right.
They made the best decision based on whatever knowledge they had of the situation. Mm-hmm. And if there is one, then it's their fault.
Right.
So the responsibility line is black and white. If there's a KB, then it's your problem. You'd fail to follow it. If there is not, it's our fault. We need to fix that.
Right.
But then that documentation is built up. Now there's probably hundreds. Every problem we ran across, we've done that. But I guess in the restaurant side, you've got recipes that you got to do. Like how does the food, what should it look like?
Right.
How much of each ingredient. So if you don't have that, I guess, that makes, again, it's common sense. It makes sense, but it's not done, I'm sure.
It's not done, or if it is done, I've seen some of the best documented, clear standards, but they're way too complex, right? It shows 75 steps to make something.
I've got 3 minutes to make that dish.
Exactly.
I don't have time to read a book. And
the most successful ones that I've seen are the brands that have 3, 5, at the very max 10 steps to complete something.
I got you.
That's just just looking at common psychology and how the average team member is going to be thinking and looking. Make it simple and short to the point. But more importantly, it's just, can it actually scale? Are you the founder right now who is very hands-on and everything runs through you, and without you, things kind of crumble? That usually means something's not scalable, right? There's other leadership discussion to have there too, but in general, the model should be able to operate with or without you. And if you do have 3, 5, or more units, then that's probably already working itself out. But what challenges are you seeing when you're onboarding somebody new? And whatever those hangups are, start to address them and make sure you're getting the feedback from managers, team members, and everybody else involved to understand how to make it as efficient as possible. And how many steps are you having in the back of house? Right? Are your cooks crossing over each other to make certain dishes and bumping elbows and getting in the way? Fix all that first. Find the most efficient way to operate and deliver your product, and then document that clearly and have those SOPs in place.
And like, if you guys aren't doing that, I would just start with a Google Doc. That's where we started. And then we built our own internal knowledge base system that now we include actually as part of Milagro for restaurants to use that as well. But start with a freaking Google Doc and just have a Google Doc for every SOP, and then have a tracker that tells you like that. I think if you are starting to save yourself a ton of headache, create a spreadsheet and then put every single thing in there with a link to the Google Doc that takes you there, that says here's how to make every dish. And I think that's a great start. And then once you grow up a little bit, then put it in some sort of a knowledge base system that could be shared privately with the entire organization, I guess.
Fully agree, right? And the sophistication of these platforms or the documentation you have will get better as time goes on, and that's okay. But can somebody else scale this brand? Can I operate it without you? And you have to prove that out. In addition, you got to make sure that you have already found the next best way to do something that you've been doing. So challenge everything. If you've been doing something for 15, 20 years, right? Does everybody else think it's still the best way? And go ahead and get all that out of the way now, because I'm telling you, when franchisees get involved, especially if they have experience, they're going to bring a lot to the table, which is good, but you don't want to feel like your franchisees, your first ones, are fixing your brand. They should be adding value to your brand, not trying to fix every issue or mistake, or telling you that, hey, you're missing a step here, or this is misspelled, or there's no SOP for how to make this menu item, like whatever the issue may be.
I think that SOP thing is such a critical role. I think it's probably more important than anything else. And before starting, that's probably your number one thing that you got to do. And also it'll have a direct impact on the quality and the way the food is. And
what makes you different, going back to the last question, right? If you have a certain thing about your business that's making you stand out and you're so different with, it's proprietary to you, but people can't deliver it, you're already losing the game, right? And some of these things, I know some people are gonna be like, yeah, this is obvious, we get this, why are we talking about it?
But have you done it?
I'm working with a brand right now, okay? They have 3 locations. They just asked for some basic franchising launch support, right? 3 locations, and they do not have anything documented, nothing. So when I ask for recipes and ingredients and overall just operations checklist, we don't have anything. Can we leave you voice memos and tell you like what we tell our people? Sure, I can translate that, right? But how are these 3 locations operating without some sort of scalable SOPs that are documented?
I think this job is so easy. You just walk in, but like, hey, everybody out of the restaurant. I'm in charge. How do I do this?
Right.
And it's like, oh, well, we don't have, okay, well, there's your problem 1. There's your problem 2. There's your problem 3. I think it's like, hey, just get in, kick everybody out, and then start from the, you could easily make a quick to-do list right off the bat. But hopefully this will save you from doing that. Listen to this, follow the directions, and then you don't have to go my route.
Right. And again, they have high AUVs, they're successful, they've been around for a while, and so they want to franchise. But you wonder, how do you get that far, right? And how stressful is that to the team members who have come and gone? Like, how hard is that to operate without knowing?
I think training actually is a huge problem in there because there is no SOP. So you, founder, trains the first guy trains the second guy, and then first guy leaves, second guy leaves, and then the training just keeps changing because there's no SOP. What's the last part, the 5th part on the conversation?
So the 5th question to ask is, what kind of support are you actually going to provide to franchisees? This is a part of your business model as a franchisor. You have to understand this from day one, because it's a part of what you are pitching and what you are selling, and most importantly, what you are committing to franchisees. And what I mean by this is, and every brand's different, and some brands have bigger budgets, I get that, but what special touches or value adds are you going to provide as a franchisor? Because right now you are a restaurant operator. You run restaurants, you manage teams, right? You're delivering a guest experience. You are probably in the 4 walls of your business every single day, and you probably have a slim team doing that. If you're going to become a franchisor, you still have to take care of that business, but now you have a new business with higher expectations and actual investors, aka franchisees, right, who are paying you a lot of money, and they're probably investing way more money than you ever have personally in this same brand, okay? You have more time, right, but they're bringing more dollars. And so what are you going to provide to them? There's some basic examples, right? Are you going to provide monthly P&L reviews, let's say? Are you going to have quarterly business reviews? Are you going to allow the benchmarking and show them how they're stacking up against other franchisees in the market or even your own corporate restaurants? Are you going to host a Friday marketing support call every single Friday at 2 p.m. no matter what, regardless of who shows up? Right?
Wow, starting to think a lot through a lot of that. Yeah, continue on.
Because this is another full-time job or more for people to be able to be there for franchisees. What you don't want is the franchisee who's like, I don't even know who to call. I do have questions, but like, I don't want to bother this person or that person. Create the environment where the franchisee knows that they are going to be supported and they have access to certain, support groups or support calls, and they may not even take part in it for the first year. But when they do, right, in the 13th month of operation, and they hop on that marketing call they heard about, and somebody's there, and even if they're the only ones, they're going to feel like, oh, wow, my franchisor really is here for me when I need them. We all need help with stuff at some point, but none of us are really thinking about it every single day. But when an issue pops up that's so specific, you want to know who to go to for that issue.
Gotcha.
And as a franchisee, you should know what those services or those offers are from the franchisor. Is there monthly webinars to attend? Is there an annual brand conference?
Well, I'm thinking actually about that. 3 to 5 locations, 3 years of history. Like,
sure.
I don't have the money to build a team like that.
No. And so right now, and I have a lot of brands who do this, who have maybe, let's say there's 20 locations, and they might have a pretty strong support team for those 20 corporate run units, and franchisees are signing on or have recently opened. So what do? Well, we can't afford an FBC yet. That should be your first hire as a franchisor. We can't afford an FBC yet. So who's going to split up those responsibilities? Who's going to be that contact? And you have to decide that internally. But as soon as you get at least 5 to 7 franchisees in the system ready to go, you need to have at least one FBC who's on the payroll, right, supporting the franchisees. So that way you have clear lines between corporate run operations and franchise operations.
I got you.
But this is important because this is also a part of your discovery day with these prospects. It's a part of your pitch. And everybody in franchising is competing with whatever brand offers a franchise. So if I'm a potential franchisee, I could be looking at Ace Hardware stores, I could be looking at Smoothie King, and I could be looking at McDonald's. I could be evaluating
Dave's Hutching.
Dave's Hutching, all across the spectrum, right? Or dog grooming franchises or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm a potential franchisee looking for the best, probably the highest return that I can get my hands on.
1,000% agree with you. When people are going out and they're shopping franchise, they're doing it to make money, right?
Right.
They're financially investing to get an ROI.
Right.
And they're gonna go where they make the most amount of ROI.
Right.
So if your brand is subpar on the AUV and it's making not single digit percentages, they could go to any number of brands where they're generating more ROI. That makes a lot more financial sense to invest in that brand versus your brand. So I think the number one key is get all of that in order and make sure the financials make sense, because they're in, especially if you're going after the, if it's a mom and pop where you're they're running it as a lifestyle, that's a different story. But like professional franchisees that are Mumbos, the multi-unit, multi-brand operators, they're making an investment to make money. They need that ROI.
Right. And some brands can compete at a high level with top performing franchise opportunities, right? So that's almost like the entry point. So you got to have a strong item 19. It's a brand that's proven out. People know it, believe in it, love it. Great. After that, how are you going to stand out? What are you providing me as a franchisee that the other franchise didn't even mention, doesn't even talk about yet?
Yeah.
Right? So the more value you can show, that you can commit to now, even if you don't even have a person to do it or franchisees operating yet, what is your pitch in terms of support? Because at the end of the day, the only reason a franchisee is coming to you is they want to buy into your proven model and your support.
Of course, yeah. I don't want to build my own brand. I don't want to have to go figure all that out. Hence, I'm paying you.
Exactly.
Because you figured it out.
Right.
Hence, I'm paying that whatever royalty fee that is that to get there.
Right.
Okay, amazing. So we got 5 more topics to talk about. So tune in on the next episode and you'll learn the next 5.